Welcome, students. Let's learn the first chapter of Class 8 History. The name of the today's topic is How, When, and Where. The whole and sole idea of this chapter would be to kind of ignite an interest of the subject. Most of the students considered history is a very boring subject and is only about to memorizing the dates. But however, under this chapter we will develop a conception and idea as to why we study history and why it is crucial and critical to understand the key happening in the history of India as well as the world. Now let's talk about some of the very interesting example. Let's say if I ask you your birthday, you might remember it well. So when you were born, you might remember it very well. But let's say another of your classmate, and if I ask him your birthday, he will be able to answer probably if he is a close friend of yours. He will answer the question, otherwise it would be very challenging for him to answer. The similar things come up in your mind. Why to remember when Akbar was born? Why to remember when Babur was born? When was the Battle of Panipat held? And so on. Now, over the period of times, the things and conceptions has been changing. Previously, history was considered and confined only not to dimension of when the things happen. Now we are moving forward a step ahead and considering how and what happens under history. So let's see how they existed in the past and how they are in the present. So we are trying to connect or link between what was before and what is after. Living in the world, we do not always ask historical questions about what we see around us. Here, always we do not ask historical question about what we see around of us. We take things for granted as if what we see has always been in the world we inhabit. Habit means the place where we are living. But most of us have our moments of wonder. Moments means time of surprising when we are curious and we ask questions that actually are historical. Curious means eager to know. We are very eager to know. When we are eager to know and we ask questions that actually are historical. Watching someone sip a cup of tea at a roadside tea stall, you may wonder, when did people begin to drink tea? or coffee? This type of question may arise in your mind. When did people they started to drink tea or coffee like that? Looking out of the window of a train, you may ask yourself, when were railways built and how did people travel long distances before the age of railways? Means when these railways were built and how did the people go far distances before the introducing of railways. Reading the newspaper in the morning, you may be curious to know how people got to hear about things before newspapers began to be printed. When there was no newspaper, how people they got to hear about things. So let us see the next page. All such historical questions refer us back to notions of time. Notions means belief about something. This all these things of historical questions it refer us to believe about something of that time. But time does not have to be always precisely. Is not that means always accurately dated in terms of a particular year or a month. Sometimes it is actually incorrect to fix precise date to processes that happen over a period of time. People in India did not begin drinking tea one fine day. They developed a taste for it over time. Take a little bit time. There can be no one clear date for a process such as this. Similarly, we cannot fix one single date on which British rule was established. Likewise, we cannot fix a particular date from that day British rule was established in our country or the national movement started, the movement for our nation when it was started, or changes took place within the economy and society. All these things happen over a stretch of time. We can only refer to a span of time, an approximate period over which particular changes became visible. So approximate period here over which particular changes became visible we can mention here. Why then do we continue to associate history with a string of deaths? This association has a reason. There was a time when history was an account of battles and big events. There was a time when history it was an account keeping the records of battles and big events which were took place during those days. It was about rulers and their policies, which king was ruling there and what were their policies. Historians wrote about the year of king was crowned, the year he married, the year he had a child, the year he fought a particular war, the year he died, and the year the next ruler succeeded to the throne. This everything is recorded in the history. So when did he die? Then in who is the next ruler who came after whom, this thing, and who sat on the throne after which king, these things are narrated in the history. For events such as these, specific dates can be determined, and the histories such as these, debates about dates continue to be important, becomes important. Dates continue to be important here. As you have seen in the history textbooks of the past 2 years, historians now write about the host of other issues and other questions. Host means a person who receives of other issues and other questions. They look at how people earn their livelihood, what they produce, and at how cities developed and markets came up, how kingdoms were formed and new ideas spread, and how cultures and society changed. This is everything the development which brought is a mention. These are written in history. Who is that? This is also important for history. Let's see. By what criteria do we choose a set of dates as important? The dates we select, the dates around which we compose our story of the past, are not important on their own. They are actually not important of their own. They become vital because we focus on a particular set of events as important. That events make it important. If our focus of study changes, if we begin to look at new issues, a new set of dates will appear significant. We can see here in a meaningful way. Consider an example in the histories written by British historians in India. The ruler of each governor general was important. As an example here, in the histories written by British historians in India, the rule of each governor who was ruling there, governor general, was important. These histories began with the rule of the first governor general, Warren Hastings. The first governor general, underline it, boys, and learn it. He was the first governor general, and his name is Warren Hastings, and ended with the last viceroy, Lord Mountbatten. In separate chapters, we read about the deeds of others. Children, towards your left side or left margin, you can see this thing also. You must read it, which will be helpful for you. So let us continue. In separate chapters, we read about the deeds of this what they have done, deeds of others. Let us proceed to third page of the book. Hastings, Wellesley, Bentinck, Dalhousie, Canning, Lawrence, Lytton, Ripon, Curzon, Harding, Irwin. It was a seemingly never ending succession of governor generals and viceroys. The ruler, that means it was never ending, it keeps going on. All the dates in these history books were linked to these personalities, to their activities, policies, achievements. So all the dates in these history books, these were linked to these different personalities, about their activities, what they have done, what were their policies, and what are the things they got, what were their targets, like that. It was as if there was nothing outside their lives that was important for us to know. See here, it was as if there was nothing outside their lives and that was important for us to know about them. The chronology of their lives mark the different chapters of the history of British India. The chronology means the arrangement of events or dates in the order of their occurrence. Can we not write about the history of this period in a different way? How do we focus on the activities of different groups and classes in Indian history within the format of this history of governor generals? When we write history or a story, we divide it into chapters. Different chapters we used to make it. The time where we are writing history or a story. Why do we do this? Why it is necessary here? It is to give each chapter some coherence. Coherence means the quality of forming a unified whole. It is to tell a story in a way that makes some sense and can be followed. In the process, we focus only on those events that help us to give shape to the story we are telling. In the histories that revolve around the life of British governor generals, the activities of Indians simply do not fit. They have no space. What then do we do? Clearly, we need another format for our history. There another format is necessary. This would mean that the old dates will no longer have the significance they earlier had. Meaningful does not have here. Significance means meaning. A new set of dates will become more important for us to know. Here, a new set of dates, it will become more important for us to know about it. That's up to here for today. Thank you, guys.